As a surprise to no one, Despicable Me 4 is terrible. In the latest installment of the Despicable Me franchise, we follow Gru and his family as they go undercover to escape a new nemesis of his. This film is pointless, confusing, and tame. It's easily the worst film in this franchise and one of the worst animated movies of the year. It is an ugly, boring mess of a film that is not worth your time nor your kids' time. Probably don't have kids. Now, Gru is just a cop working for the Anti-Villain League. He has totally left his villainous side behind, leaving him to feel like a very boring character. I don't understand the need for the story beyond generating revenue for Universal, and they don't try to justify it much either. Here, we follow two separate stories, two very disjointed plots that are held together by the thinnest screenplay imaginable. In the first, Gru and his family struggle to live a double life as they move away from their home and assume new identities to escape the new villain, played by Will Ferrell. While we talk about Ferrell, let's get into the general voice cast. It's terrible. It's really bad. Steve Carell does his same Gru voice, but it's just not as interesting as it used to be. Ferrell is a huge star hired to put on a thick, generic French accent that is neither very funny nor interesting. And then the rest of the cast is also full of stars. You have Sofia Vergara and Kristen Wiig and Miranda Cosgrove and Joey King and all these stars that do absolutely nothing with their voices except provide some of the most generic acting imaginable. It's probably why the movie cost so much money, because it absolutely does not show in the animation. So during this plot, we follow a lot of different things that ultimately go nowhere. Screenwriting is all about setups and payoffs, and none of those exist here. It's surprising because the screenplay was written by Mike White, who wrote The White Lotus and School of Rock, because this is so bloated and terrible, and it breaks all basic screenwriting norms. There are so many plots that we start to unravel but never fully explore. Like Agnes, the little one. She's given a new name, Brittany, but because she was told by Gru not to lie, she struggles with lying. She argues with him during one scene, and then later goes to a karate teacher who asks for her name, but she refuses to say it because she won't lie. She's punished for it, and that's it. We never see her lie again, we never see her bring it up again, she doesn't seem to get over it. It's just a little piece of character development that absolutely goes nowhere. Within the same karate scene, we see Edith, I think the middle child. She beats the shit out of the karate teacher to teach him a lesson for being rude to her little sister, and nothing comes of that. By the final fight, she just cowers like the rest of them, so what does it matter that she could fight? Why does the karate teacher never come back? She never faces any consequences for her actions. And then the older sister, Margot, she struggles with making friends who bully her in school, and she almost seems like she's gonna break down to Gru after one scene, but it goes nowhere. She never talks about these friends again. We never see her go to school again. It seems like the film abruptly started right when the characters started to face some challenges. Then they disappear into our B plot. Our B plot follows the minions. Where are Kevin, Stewart, and Bob? We have new minions now for some reason. I don't know why. But for whatever reason, we have 3 new minions that are like Tony and Roy and whatever. They suck. They're terrible. They're not nearly as interesting as Kevin, Stewart, and Bob. And we also follow some new minions as they become mega minions. But this is also a super undeveloped story because they fight crime, but they're just terrible at it. They just cause more problems than they do anything else. And that's pretty much it. They just exist as like a Family Guy vignette of, oh, Peter, what happens if the minions got superpowers? And it makes no sense. And it's not funny either. The film is maybe worthy of a few stupid laughs, but it's something that filled me with so much sadness almost while I was watching it. Like, I sat there with a grimace the entire time as the girls sitting next to me played on their phones and as the middle-aged man just twiddled his thumbs through it. It was such a sad sight, really. I could hear little kids laughing behind me, but outside of some children laughing at stupid nonsense, there's no substance to this story. There's nothing going on. Last Tuesday, I watched Into the Spider-Verse because it was playing in theaters again. I was just overwhelmed with how good it worked for children, but also for adults. This is a film that totally abandons that in favor of a few stupid jokes to make babies laugh. It's just something that is so dull and not worthy for anybody with an IQ over 10. The main villain is also this weird guy who likes turning people into cockroaches. I hate cockroaches with everything that I have, so this also just made me really uncomfortable and just made me like the film a whole lot less. It has some weird body horror stuff halfway through that is also not explored. The entire movie, the villain is searching for Gru, and then they just find him at the end, and they fight for 10 minutes, and of course he loses. And the villain turns Gru's shitty, horrible son. Oh, by the way, Gru has a son, and he sucks, and he's awful, and I hate him. He turns him into a cockroach, and then they fight, and Gru wins, and the day is saved, and it's so boring, and you learn absolutely nothing, and for the life of me, I can't understand why Illumination doesn't try to make something interesting out of this. It's not hard to come up with a good story that works for both children and adults, but because their model is just shovel out whatever slop we can get and do it cheaper than Disney, they make stuff like this. The Minions 2 was actually pretty fun because I guess it didn't try to do anything and it was just no story at all. But this film feels weirdly torn between trying to have some sort of story but also be fun, and for some reason the two screenwriters behind this couldn't figure out how to do this. It's a film that is really emblematic of a huge problem within movie making today. It is despicable, truly. I mean, maybe that's what they were going for because the irony of the title, but it is awful and terrible, and I hate it with every fiber of my being. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10. Do not watch this movie. Pirate it when it comes out if you want to see something terrible. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay movie fans.